Hey, it's time for chapter 4 of 71 Solutions. This chapter is identify assets and minimize liabilities. The reason I'm doing this, broke it down into 71 solutions, is to take what's overwhelming, all the problems in the world, and try to break it down into pieces. So this one is, it could really apply to a lot of different aspects of your life, but um, the quote is from Robert Kiyosaki. It says, "Rich people acquire assets, the poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets." That's Robert Kiyosaki, businessman and author. Today, side story, I was doing a property cleanup, and it was a relatively low income property. And, I was looking around at the things that I was cleaning up, and it was mostly toys, TVs, and stuffed animals. And I was just, people bought it and then they used it and then just left it on the property. They didn't even clean it up. So it's also a distraction. But most of those things, well, all those things were liabilities. And the liabilities is what keeps us down. And a lot of a lot of people think that their liabilities are assets, and they're not. An asset produces income. Okay, so I'm going to read this chapter. This step is not necessarily an action item. Well, I take that back. It is an action item because I'm going to have you do something. This is a precursor for the following steps to help you identify things that are feeding you versus things that are feeding on you. An asset is an item of value owned. Typically, assets can be easily converted into cash. Assets can be tangible, like land and equipment, or intangible, like patent or copyright. A liability is anything you are liable for or owe money to. So if you purchase a house with a loan, the loan or the house itself is an asset and the mortgage is a liability. The difference in the value of the house and the money owned is equity. I want to take this a step further here. Well, let me finish reading the chapter and then I'll do that. Some assets depreciate, like tools, equipment, structures, and vehicles. Something that I have come to see as a builder and permaculturist is that as soon as I finish building something, it begins to depreciate. As soon as I buy a piece of equipment, it begins to lose value. On the flip side, when I turn a yard into a garden or plant a tree, it will continue to grow and develop on its own, appreciating in value for the life of the tree, meanwhile producing new trees, food, medicine, and beauty along the way. It is important to make the most of assets during their life, to minimize depreciating assets, and to invest in things that are likely to produce. Invest in assets that are sure to hold or grow in value, like knowledge, quality, land, secure stocks, and the often overlooked edible and medicinal plants. Assets can turn into cash with passive income, active income, or by selling. Active income requires your labor. A hammer, for example, would usually be an active income asset unless you were to rent it out or have an employee that uses it. An apartment could produce more passive income. When you take inventory in the next step, under the income column, put in A for active, P for passive, or S to mark for sale. This will give you an idea about how to best utilize what you have to gain the most ground. I like to now think of assets as just things that are producing money, and liabilities as things that are taking money. So when it says an asset is an item of value owned, but a boat has value, but it's a liability. So the way that we think about assets and liabilities, I think, should be a little different than the actual definitions, or at least the ways that I defined it here in this book. I'm actually might rewrite this chapter to add this. Think of an asset as something that's producing for you, and a liability is something that's taking it away. So a car, you have to really think about that. Are you using it just to get to work? You could think of it as an asset. Or is it for work and play? Well, it's kind of both. Or is it just for play? Then it's a liability. a property, a rental property, is more of an asset, or good stocks might be a good asset. But most things, this camera is a liability. It does not produce any income for me. Now, if I take this camera and I take pictures that I can sell, or I actually sometimes use this camera for my team board to put pictures of my team so that I can remember who likes what and how to organize people a little better. And that brings it over into approaching the asset category. But most of the things lying around me, I have my computer, that's an asset. This extra watch is not. It's nice, but it's not an asset. So take note of what are your assets, what are your liabilities. Write it down in the book. And the idea is to minimize your liabilities and identify the things that produce income so that you can improve the income production for you. And you know, for me, I have a bunch of tools. Those tools are assets when I'm using them, but really when I'm not using them, they become a little bit more of a liability. There's a little gray area in there. All right, thanks for watching, y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Love to know what some of your assets and your liabilities are and what you're going to do about it.